Hey, what's happening, everybody? This is Lawrence Ross, aka Blind Lawrence. Thanks for checking out my YouTube channel. Hope you like what you see. Hey, what's happening out there, everybody? This is Lawrence Ross, and I'd like to take a few moments of your time here to talk about someone who I've been a great admirer of for many, many years. And today is the 12-year anniversary in which the world unexpectedly said farewell to him. I'm talking about the comedian George Dennis Patrick Carlin. There's a great autobiography about him called Last Words, and the audiobook is read by his brother Patrick, and it contains a little interview with Tony Hendra, who is the co-writer of the book. And it provides a lot of really interesting insight about Carlin's life. You read about the struggles that he faced when he was a budding young comic. There's a lot of really fun anecdotes in there as well. There's one story, as a matter of fact, it's one of my favorites, because it is just so amazing to see the 180 degree that he had in regards to this situation. So it's 1959 in Boston, Massachusetts, WEZE. He was working at the radio station. He had a couple of on-air shifts, and he also was the board op. So it's a Wednesday evening, and Cardinal Cushing is on the air doing his program from his home or from the church, wherever he's doing it. He's on a remote line. And the way it worked back in the day was if you had only a certain amount of time to do your thing, that's all you had. If you got preempted for the news or anything else like that, well, sorry, Charlie, you ran over the time limit. And that's what happened with this guy. This Cardinal Cushing, he's going on and on about about these nuns who are doing great work in the community, and he's supposed to do the 5 sorrowful mysteries, but he gets way too carried away with his opening monologue, and he starts it later than expected. So George is the board op. He's doing his job, logging the station, all that stuff, and at 7 o'clock, he's supposed to hit the news and hit an Alka-Seltzer spot. And so the program's still going on, and at 7 o'clock, he decides, well, news can't wait. Sorry, Father. Boom. Show goes off the air. On comes the news. On comes the Alka-Seltzer spot. Everything seems to be going good. All of a sudden, the phone rings, and it's the father. He's not too pleased. He's like, I want to know who turned the word of God off the air this evening. And George was very, very cordial about it. He said, Cardinal Cushing, this is George Carlin. I'm merely following what the FCC is doing, asking me to do. And the station backed him up on that. Totally backed him up. And then in 1972, well, we all know what happened. I'll try and give you the condensed version here, basically, off of on his Class Clown album, which is very iconic. As a matter of fact, I used it as the thumbnail for this video, and I'll try and describe it to you the best way that I can. It shows him, he's got his thumb up his nose, I think like this. He's got there's a blackboard, and there's, in chalk, it says Class Clown, and it has like an arrow pointing down towards him. And that album is a landmark album for him because it contained the first recording of the 7 dirty words bit, the 7 words you can never say on television bit, which is legendary and for good reason. And so he did the bit, and he got in trouble in Milwaukee for doing it, oddly enough. Milwaukee, someone complained about it. He was actually arrested during that time. Wasn't his first arrest, though. He actually went to jail with Lenny Bruce one night. And there's an album called The Bust that Lenny Bruce had made. And it was at a club in Chicago, I think it was. And George happened to be there that same night, and he got busted because he didn't have an ID on him. He didn't have a government ID. He didn't believe in it. But that's neither here nor there. So 7 words you can never say on television. And if you have sensitive ears right now, let me just go and warn you right now. The 7 words are shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, and tits. Those are the heavy 7. Those are the ones that'll curve your soul. No, infect your soul, curve your spine, and keep this country from winning the war. But this radio station, WBAI, licensed by Pacifica and the Federal Communications Commission, this guy played it one afternoon, and one guy, one sensitive Sally heard it and he was actually amused by it, but he felt the words did not belong on the public airwaves. Rat. So he calls the FCC, he complains, he boo-hoos, he bellyaches about it. Then in 1978, Supreme Court, the case went to the Supreme Court, ladies and gentlemen. You can look it up. It's Pacifica versus the FCC. I think that's what it's called. Well, all you gotta do is just look in, on the website, georgecarlin.com, there's a section of all the legal documents that have followed him around throughout his illustrious career. And so you can read it for yourself on there. I'll actually, I'll put a link to georgecarlin.com in the description if y'all want to check it out for yourself. And it's a great little site. There's actually a channel devoted entirely to him on SiriusXM for you people out there who have SiriusXM. It's channel, I think it's 770, I think. It's called Carlin's Corner. It's a really fun channel. Plays a lot of his old stuff and some of his more recent stuff. But in 1978, it was ruled by the Supreme Court, a 5-4 decision that the words could not be used on the public airwaves. But there is something called safe harbor, where you can get away with a little bit more risque stuff, but still you can't say the words. Basically, you're just not allowed to say them. And so I'd recommend you go check out the book Last Words, because it has a lot more anecdotes that I could fill up on this video. But I'll just tell you a little about, the way Carlin, I guess, has impacted my life, basically. I mean, he's one of those guys who, he makes you laugh, he makes you think. And I remember I read a quote once from Sam Kinison where he had said, "Good comedy doesn't make people laugh and think. It makes them laugh and change." And that is something to really think about. And I remember growing up, my first exposure to Carlin was when he was on Shining Time Station, when he played the conductor and also the narrator on that show. And I watched a couple episodes of that show, and I never did piece it together until years later when he talked about it in an HBO special. But I remember also growing up, my dad would sometimes drop little one-liners from Carlin around the house. Like sometimes he would tell me, like he told me about Al Sleet, Hippy Dippy Weatherman, his pothead weatherman character, the guy who was always stoned, where he goes, "Current temperature at the airport is 68 degrees, which is stupid because I don't know anybody who lives at the airport." And he also he would also tell me the line of where he says, "I'll be right back, I'm gonna take a shit. Don't take one of mine." And I remember I saw a commercial for his Carlin on Campus video that they were selling back in the day. And I remember there was a line in there where he was talking about, you ever notice how when you get hit in the face with a hatchet right before the pain, there's this cool breeze that hits you, and then the pain sets in. But yeah. And then in 2001, when I was 13, I remember one day I was at Barnes & Noble, and my dad was with me, and he was reading some excerpts from Carlin's book, Napalm and Silly Putty. And I had started discovering little excerpts of him on this website, laugh.com. And it's a fun little website. Go check it out. I'll put a link to that in the description as well. And you can also go on the website and look around what they got on there, because that site has, if you're into comedy, they have CDs, T-shirts, posters, stuff like that. There's something in there for everybody. So you can go check that out if you'd like. But I remember the first Carlin album I ever bought was called Parental Advisory, Explicit Lyrics, and I'd never heard anything like it before. And I remember I took the album home and I started listening to it, and man, this guy's funny. And then as the months went by, I started collecting the albums as much as I could, and I'll never forget this story always kind of is monumental to me, because it was Saturday, September 8th, 2001, and I had purchased what was then his latest comedy album. It was called You Are All Diseased. It was culled from his 1999 HBO special. In the first 8 minutes of the special, he dissects airport security, and he says how when the terrorists do in fact attack, it's not going to be with explosives, but they're going to have anthrax, there'll be cyanide in the water, all that stuff. 3 days later, what happens? The September 11th attacks. And it was just really, really freaky that, I don't know, the timing of that just will always stick with me. Always. But then about like a month or so later, I got a whole bunch more. I got like 5 more albums of his. And then later on that year, I got what was known as the Little David Years box set, which is long out of print, by the way. But it's a great little box set. It had all of his stuff from the 70s and a bonus disc that had like never before heard stuff, or stuff that was cut for time from some of his specials, I imagine, and different recordings and whatnot. So that was really cool getting that. So then by December of 2001, I was all caught up. I had all of his albums, everything from, no, I take that back. I mean, by February 2002, I had all of his albums, because I got what was his I got his latest album, Complaints and Grievances, for Christmas that year. And interesting thing about that special was the working title was I Kind of Like It When a Lot of People Die. But after the September 11th attacks, he changed it to just Complaints and Grievances. And I think it worked out just as well. I think it was the right move to change the name of that special. And that special eventually went on to be the name of a posthumously released album, which came out in 2016, which is a very dark album, probably one of his darkest albums out there. And I thought Life is Worth Losing was pretty darn dark. That was the special he did in 2005. But by 2002, as I say, I had all of his albums and really started getting into his stuff. And I think he's opened my eyes in regards to how to be like more of a critical thinker. And he had a great comic mind. And his approach was to intentionally cross the line and see who came along with him. And those who joined him, they were along for the ride. But those who couldn't handle it, well, they get out of the kitchen. But yes, so the iconic George Dennis Patrick Carlin, I'll always be thinking of him. And I just really think that he's changed my life for the better. And I'd like to leave you now with my interpretation of one of his routines. It's a short one, but it's funny. It's off of his 2001 special, Complaints and Grievances. This is where he was talking about guys named Todd. I'm getting really sick of guys named Todd, Yeah, it's a goofy fucking name, okay? Hi, what's your name? Todd. I'm Todd. And this is Blake and Blair and Blaine and Brent. Where are all these goofy fucking boys' names coming from? Taylor, Tyler, Jordan, Flynn. These are not real names. You want to hear a real name? Eddie. Eddie is a real name. What happened to Eddie? He was here a minute ago. Joey and Jackie and Johnny and Phil, Bobby, Tommy, Danny and Bill. What happened? Todd and Cody and Dylan and Cameron and Tucker. Hi, Tucker. I'm Todd. Hi, Todd. I'm Tucker. Fuck Tucker. Tucker sucks. And fuck Tucker's friend Kyle. There's another soft name for a boy, Kyle. Soft names make soft people. I'll bet you anything that 10 times out of 10, Nikki, Vinny, and Tony will beat the shit out of Todd, Kyle, and Tucker. I'm Lawrence Ross. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked what you saw. Bye-bye.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? This is Lawrence Ross, aka Blind Lawrence. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you'd like, you can check me out on my other social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and yes, even Instagram.
That does not make sense.
All ending in /Blind Lawrence.